In 1986, the head honchos of Marvel wanted to celebrate the publisher's 25th anniversary in a big way, eventually deciding on creating several new titles set on an alternate Earth, designated 148611, where it was basically identical to the real world until July 22nd, 1986, at 4:22 a.m. EDT. It was then the planet was awash in a bright light for a few moments, known as the White Event, which endowed a couple people out of every million with superpowers, who were eventually dubbed paranormals. The books would also be in real time, with a month canonically passing in between issues like it does for us in the real world. This was the new universe. No joke, they'd initially considered a different celebration for 25 years in the biz, ending the Marvel Universe proper and starting over with updated takes on existing characters and concepts. I wonder if they would have called it the Excelsior 52. Hello, I'm the Angry Spork. Earlier this year saw the passing of Jim Shooter, prolific writer and one of the creators involved in this new imprint. So one of my viewers suggested I take a look at today's book. A story about a man who finds himself unexpectedly given a strange gift from beyond the moon. I'm taking issue with Starbrand number 1, so let's see if this comic makes us want to turn the page or turn our heads. The cover sees the title character in the upper atmosphere, looking like he's reaching out for something. Actually, not a bad cover. Simple but effective. Pretty dynamic pose without trying to look like it's overselling itself. The first page is something I don't recall seeing outside the Gold or Silver Age comics. A preview splash page, which gives a bit of a tease of things ahead. In this case, our hero deadlifting a train car. Hey, you better wipe that down when you're done with it. Mr. Incredible's got next. There is a weapon in the universe more powerful than all others. No more coveted, feared, loved, or hated thing exists. Remember, folks, this was written before Twitter was a thing. Only a fool, a madman, or the right man would dare possess the Rotato. Written by Jim Shooter, with art by John Romita Jr., Al Williamson, and Christy Scheel, this being a 2016 reprint, by the way, we begin in western Pennsylvania, where Ken Connell is motorbiking through a mountainous area when he arrives at a destroyed patch of land, like a bomb was detonated. He rides some distance away to a higher vantage point, perhaps to assess what happened, when he's met by an old stranger who seems to know his name. He claims to be pursued on his last legs and was hoping to find the cyclist. When Ken doesn't back away, instead asking if the guy's sick or injured, the old-timer offers to give him something, and he need only look into his eyes. Wait, you're not the owner of that rusted-out van with free back rubs painted on the side, are you? Connell wakes up the next morning, having spent all night in the wilderness. He starts recalling the previous evening, speaking with the old man who claimed to have been drawn to the planet by a peculiar phenomenon, likely the White Event. I've been looking for someone like you for a long time. Beings like you and me are a rare breed. I know that, like me, you also have trouble using public bathrooms. The guy's dying and didn't plan this very well, but fortunately, Ken seems to be agreeable. He has the Earthling put his hand on his tattoo, which is then transferred to Ken's palm. Don't worry, if you don't want it on your palm, you can move it later. Can you believe the tattoo artist wanted $100 for such a simple design? I gave him $25 in singles between 2 fivers, and before he finished counting, I was gone. In the present, Connell finds the mark on his hand, very much real and not rubbing off. He notices tracks, suggesting the stranger fell and crawled to a nearby cliff, and Ken looks over to see the man's body below. When he slides down to see if he can be of aid, it turns out he wasn't even human. No, with the art, we can only really tell that he's just really, really wrinkly. It's all rather confusing, but he realizes the man was speaking carefully because of his impending demise, remembering how the mark is called the Starbrand, how relieved the stranger was that Ken was the perfect choice to accept it, and that hopefully he won't come to regret this. Too much. Why does every eBay seller I buy from keep saying that? He decides to bury the alien by pulling a huge chunk out of the rock face, revealing a cave where he puts the body and replaces the, again, enormous rock, with absolutely no reaction to his sudden immense strength or how he can fly back to his bike to ride it back to his car, then drive back to his suburban apartment. Seems like in a reality meant to be like the real world at one point, where superheroes and aliens weren't an everyday thing, these feats should elicit more surprise, awe, curiosity, even a little caution. But maybe that's just me. When he's relaxing at home, he notices how the tattoo feels warmer than the rest of his skin. But that warmth spreads when he concentrates, like he has an energy body that uses his physical form as a template. He tests out what he can do by putting his hand over a lit stove with no pain, crushing a hand weight, and lifting his couch, though with too much gusto and cracking the ceiling. If he has drywall repairing vision that instantly fixes it, I am out of here, just saying. He can also fly just by thinking about it, which he tests out now that it's dark. I guess he spent all day just taking this all in. He flies to his friend Myron's place, who's tinkering with a junked bicycle.
Look what I found by the side of the road. Somebody just threw it away. Can you imagine? I had to shove off some kid that was sitting on it like he owned it or something. People are so wasteful.
Despite being horribly bent, Myron's convinced it just needs a little work, and dismisses Ken's notion of having flown here. To prove what he's saying is true, Connell straightens the bike frame with his bare hands, while in midair. I can also use sofas to destroy ceilings. Wanna see? Later, during more metal-bending feats, Ken reveals more of his conversation with the old man, who referred to the Starbrand as a weapon. At the time, Connell suggested giving it to someone fearless, like an astronaut, but the geezer said being fearless would mean abdicating reason, and of course, someone without reason shouldn't have the deadliest weapon in existence. Ken was told to guard it well, so figures the best option is to not let it get around that the Starbrand exists, since people can't want what they don't know about. Myron, a therapist, was eager to see the alien's body since, again, such an encounter is a first for this world, but they're attacked by another alien, opening fire on the two with strange weaponry, and Ken immediately figures it wants the Starbrand. It's the tattoo artist looking for that $75 the old man owes him. Myron, duck!
Ken, seagull. What are we doing? Oh, right, alien attack.
Connell leads the enemy outside and into the air, assuming it knows enough about the brand to have a weapon capable of hurting its wielder. Or maybe that's the idea, make Ken think that because it can't actually harm him. Or the alien can hurt you, but wants you to think it can't, so you'll get overconfident and give a clear shot. Or it can't hurt you, but wants you to think it can, then can't, then can, can't. Okay, I actually forgot what joke I was originally going for here. Landing at a deserted slag dump, he hopes to take cover behind some railroad cars for a chance to sneak up behind the foe, even if he's not sure what to do after the capture, when it pulls a bigger gun, opening fire and destroying the car. Connell's plan B is to try throwing the wreckage at it, but his strength seems to be gone, leaving him vulnerable to the shockwave of another blast. The alien grabs him, saying that the old man isn't dead, that Ken was tricked into a role that will bring doom to the geezer, his ilk, and the human.
It's a huge pyramid scheme. You're basically an intergalactic Mary Kay consultant.
It demands the Starbrand, considering itself to be a strong, perfect candidate to use its power to protect the universe. Because nothing says protect the universe like shooting lasers into a rando's dining room. Ken can feel the brand being pulled from him and is briefly conflicted as to whether or not to give it up, before he ultimately refuses to submit. After a flash of light, he's now encompassed in energy, admitting to having been scared for a moment, but now he's just angry, adrenaline rushing, heart racing, feeling like he could bite the head off wildcats. I think he has more to talk about with Myron the therapist than just alien corpses. After throwing another train car at the enemy and feeling absolutely fearless, he opts to launch an energy attack that results in a massive explosion. In the aftermath, Myron arrives with his trusty baseball bat and finds Ken unharmed. However,
naked.
Just as well, since when that alien grabbed him for that little lecture, he wet his pants. But it was a tactical decision. I was hoping he was kind of like those aliens from Signs and his species was vulnerable to urine. An hour and a half later, he's at the apartment of another friend, also co-worker, Debbie the Duck, now wearing some ill-fitting second-hand clothes from Myron. He mentions having lost his wallet and keys, so needs a place to crash for the night. She welcomes him in, getting a blanket for him as he almost immediately passes out on the couch. The next morning, she also pays to have a locksmith open Ken's apartment door, and will tell their boss he can't make it to work today, all for which Ken plans to pay her back. Thanks to a set of spare keys, he drives back to the mountains, and with no one else around, flies to the cave he buried the old man, removes the rock, only to find the body gone. Of course, that wasn't an alien at all. I got superpowers from Jesus! Left behind are a set of clothes in Ken's size, and despite pondering that the armed alien may have been telling the truth, and that he's been suckered, he still takes them. That evening, he's on a date at the home of his girlfriend Barbara Petrovic, along with her 2 kids, Lori and Bobby, and after dinner the tots head off to bed. Ken was unusually quiet, and Barb is curious what's on his mind.
Or am I going to have to give you a licking?
Phrasing.
He deflects, remarking how perfect she is. Her home, her looks, her kids. I mean, they asked to stay up to watch TV and didn't sulk or throw a tantrum when they were told no, so he may be onto something there. She makes an offhanded remark that it's okay if he wants to propose marriage, but his uncertain reaction makes her walk it back, apologizing and not wanting a heavy discussion about their future. Connell thinks he hears something upstairs, and possibly something outside, maybe having dropped from the upstairs window.
Oh, it's probably the kids dumping a body or sneaking out to go drag racing. They'll be fine. Let's start making out.
He heads up to the next floor, to Lori's room, where she's not in bed, and the window is open, but the girl is actually behind him, holding a familiar-looking gold-colored gun.
The boss sends his regards, Mr. Connell. You never should have mouthed off about Michael Bolton in front of the capo.
He manages to get the gun out of her hands before she can use it, with Barbara thinking it's one of her son's toys. Or, since she doesn't buy him toy guns, something he may have borrowed from a friend. But our hero knows better, that the weapon belongs to the same individual who put Lori in this sleepwalk-like trance, someone he claims to have thought was dead, but plans to find as he runs out the door, much to Barb's confusion. I did make a mob joke just now, but with him saying that out loud like that, you gotta imagine Babs is considering something very similar about now. After a few hours of flying around searching, with nothing to show for it, Ken heads home when he's called by Myron. After telling him about what happened, his pal mentions the FBI going door to door, and he's calling from a payphone in case his landline was tapped. And they're asking questions, like about the damage to Myron's house.
I just told him I had an at-home therapy session, and a patient had a bad reaction when I told him it was okay that not everyone liked the Snyder cut of Justice League as much as he did. So far, they believed it, and I'm in the clear.
For now, Ken shouldn't do anything, and they'll talk tomorrow. When he hangs up, Debbie arrives, having tried to get a hold of Connell all day, to tell him that their boss, John Eberhardt, intends to fire him if he doesn't show up for work. This, and the possibility of having ruined his relationship with Barb, is weighing on Ken, but Deb assures she'll always be there for him.
Even after I get that call back from Jim and the Holograms to be the next backup singer, which is gonna happen any day now, I know it.
She notices the weird-looking gun on the couch, and he grabs it in a panic before she can get near, even pushing her back, further away from it, asking what she was trying to do. See, this seems like both an overreaction and an understandable response at once. He knows the thing is dangerous, so it makes sense to keep it from Deb, prevent any kind of accident. But he lectures her like she already knows what it is. It's very nuanced, and I didn't see it for what it was at first glance. Ken is realizing the alien is messing with him, as he seems to have assumed Debbie was being manipulated like Lori was. Realizing something he hadn't before, he apologizes, promises to make it up to her, kisses her on the cheek, and sees her out, assuring that everything is fine. The next morning at his job, a car restoration shop, he's asked to get his boss's car down from the roof parking lot. And he does, without the keys, or turning on the engine, or even making a sound, much to John's confusion. And perhaps it's that bewilderment that makes him suddenly look more pale in the distance? Coloring, whoopsie. Ken apparently took off somewhere, and we later see him in his bedroom, down to his tighty whities, and the suit gifted to him on his mattress. He's about to turn on some epic 80s rock music and dance his little heart out. The gear looks just like the motocross suit he wore when he first met the old man, but he somehow kinda knows they're more durable, possibly from the hypnotic sleep teaching Myron suggested the old man used earlier. He still has questions, like why the stranger lied to him and if he's part of some grander plan, but for now, he very much expects to get into a fight, as he stands now fully suited up. Wow, these clothes completely deflected the ink that off-panel squid just shot at me. Amazing! He flies around the Laurel Mountains until he spots the enemy spaceship emerging from the ground, and he lands to confront his pursuer. Through some one-sided banter, he assumes that sinking into the ground is a trick the alien can also do, which is how he avoided being vaporized at the dump, and the attack from the old man, inferring that scorched plot of land from the beginning was from their fight. He tanks an energy blast, then crushes the gun he confiscated from Lori, as a further show of force. Sinking into the ground in retreat won't help, since Connell is onto him, and would find out how to track him. Again, he's assuming all this, with the alien not responding with anything other than reaching for another weapon and firing a shot that does nothing. Ken bends the barrel and pulls his foe close, declaring he's got it together, and he's had it with being hounded by the creature, throwing him into his ship and ordering him off the planet.
To the moon, Alice!
The comic ends with the craft flying away, either because its pilot is scared enough to leave, or our hero just threw it really, really hard. He then declares that whatever the old man intended, the star brand is with the right man, and he'll keep it if he has to kick every butt in the universe. His attempts to trademark the superhero name Cosmic Keister Kicker would be met with unpleasant results. That was Starbrand number 1, and as an origin story, it feels a tad derivative, but still pretty good. Dying alien that grants the most powerful weapon in existence to a worthy Earthling pretty much mirrors Hal Jordan becoming Green Lantern, especially given the role that fear plays in using the power. The more scared Ken got, the weaker his hold on the brand became, nearly allowing this unnamed space gremlin to take it from him. But then he got so angry as to become fearless, pulling off a move that was likened to a bomb. So it's probably not a good idea to taunt him when playing Call of Duty on co-op. In light of this, the alien tried to make him paranoid, unable to relax or trust those around him, before Ken got his bearings and gained the upper hand. This progression of working through his trepidation is done fairly well, though it was odd how he didn't seem all that surprised that he could move a boulder hundreds of times his size or fly around. Sure, he's mildly surprised later when testing things out at home, but overall, to say his reaction was subdued would be an understatement. There's also a lot of assumptions being made that we're expected to believe are on the money, even when it seems to come out of the blue. Some are understandable and would make sense, like the aggressor alien having the same ability to hide underground as his ship, or that the destroyed patch of forest Ken happened upon was the site of the old man's last brawl with the same enemy. Logical leaps, perhaps, but not totally unreasonable. Still, it felt a tad convenient at times to explain what's going on without feeling too much like exposition, as it doesn't seem like we're seeing or reading how Ken is arriving at these conclusions. In a way, it's like the narrator captions that spell things out for the reader from Golden and Silver Age comics had taken on a different form, trying to feel like the characters figuring out things for themselves. Ken has a believable enough everyman quality about him. Typical working stiff with a couple close friends, a love life, and affinity for outdoor sports. I also see potential in the supporting cast. Barbara's a single mom who cares for Ken, but doesn't want to push him into married life. Debbie Duck has some idiosyncrasies like her dyed hair and occasional quacking, which perhaps gets elaborated upon later. She also seems to have romantic feelings for our hero, but that remains unrequited with Barb in the picture. Myron dumpster dives and salvages what people throw away to repurpose for continued use, suggesting a conservationist mindset, which, when you think about it, doesn't seem all that different from his job as a therapist, fixing minds and emotions of people so they can better function in life. Speaking of salvaging, given how Ken was posed with that broken alien rifle, all Myron needs is the right strings, and he's got himself a new, funky-looking space guitar.
Raise him!
And I do have to point out how rushed the pacing felt at times, almost like this was a very abridged version of 2 issues worth of story, a lot stuffed into 1 issue, which may be why some of the dialogue can feel a tad clunky. While it seems like Connell mastered his powers in 1 issue, there remain unanswered questions for future stories, like if the old man really was alive and why he chose to deceive his successor. There could be more to their chat we haven't seen, like why Ken agreed in the first place, who else wants the Star Brand, and where it came from. Not to mention, part of the core premise of the new universe was that all the prominent characters would somehow be connected to the White Event, like how it drew the old man to Earth, so there could be more to that as well. It kind of feels a little difficult to critique the art, since this is a reprint that looks like the colors were cleaned up a bit. That said, considering this is before the digital techniques we're all used to today, it's still pretty good. I've always liked Romita's style, and the color choices are very well done. A time or two, the effect of having black blotches to indicate Ken's power seemed a little off to me, but other than that, nothing too much wrong with it. The new universe struggled in its first incarnation, and the Starbrand title itself straining for a long time. But something about the character had Marvel fold him and other NU characters into the main canon. So while I found this a fine enough read, even if the dialogue occasionally got a little strangely redundant, there may be more intrigue in the 18 issues that follow that support keeping the guy around. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.